Get out of the way. This is such a hassle. Camden's voice cracked across the schoolyard like a firecracker. Kids turned, some laughing, some just pretending not to hear. Sarah Ruiz barely had time to look up before her wheelchair jerked sideways. Her books tumbled, her arms scraped against the pavement, and her body hit the ground with a sickening thud. Before diving into the story, let us know where you're listening from by leaving a comment below. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you won't miss any of our upcoming inspirational stories. It was the first day of 8th grade at Roosevelt Middle School in Georgia. The morning sun was still stretching over the football field, warming the brick walls of the old building that had served 3 generations. Parents lingered near their cars, teachers ushered kids into lines, and the principal gave his usual speech about respect and values. But no speech could stop what had just happened. Sarah, 13, born with cerebral palsy, had lived her life with wheels beneath her. She was quiet, observant, and strong in ways most people never noticed. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just lay there, staring up at the sky while the world kept spinning around her. Camden Price strutted away like he'd done something heroic. Broad-shouldered, smug, with his football jersey hanging loose, he was the kind of boy who never got called out. His family donated a new scoreboard last year. His dad coached varsity. His mom ran the PTA. In Roosevelt Middle School, Camden was untouchable. Until now. Marcus Clay had seen the whole thing. He wasn't standing close. He rarely was. Marcus, small and wiry, with sharp eyes and a quiet mouth, had learned long ago that people didn't listen to kids like him. Especially not in the South. Especially not when you were black, kept your head down, and carried your father's story like a shadow. But this was too much. He stepped forward without thinking. "Pick her up," he said. Camden turned. "What did you say, runt?" "I said pick her up." It was like someone pressed pause on the entire courtyard. A few kids gasped. One teacher noticed, took a step, then stopped. No one interfered. Not yet. Camden laughed and walked off. Sarah still hadn't moved. Marcus knelt beside her. "You okay?" Sarah blinked once. "I'm fine." He offered his hand. She hesitated, then took it. Her palm was scraped, her elbow bleeding, but she didn't wince. Marcus helped her upright, then gathered her books. By the time the bell rang, the crowd had scattered. Camden had vanished. Sarah rolled herself into the building without another word. Marcus followed in silence. That night, Marcus sat at the kitchen table, staring at a plate of cold mac and cheese. His mom, a nurse who worked the night shift, came in rubbing her eyes. "You haven't touched your food, baby," he shrugged. "Someone got hurt today." His mom sat, pulling her robe tighter. "Was it you?" Number 8 girl in a chair. "She okay?" Marcus nodded slowly. "But I'm not." She reached over, squeezing his hand. "Want to talk?" Marcus looked up. "Why do people just let bad things happen?" She didn't answer right away. "Because they're scared, or tired, or think it's not their fight." He clenched his fists. "But it is mine." His mom leaned in, voice steady. "Then you better do something about it. But not with fists, with truth." The next day, Marcus went to the school counselor, Ms. Green. Her office smelled like cinnamon and paper. He sat stiffly while she typed something on her computer. "You're not in trouble," she said, smiling. "What's up?" "I want to sign up for team day." Her eyebrows lifted. "Really? That's not usually your thing." "I want Camden on my team." Ms. Green blinked. "You sure?" "Yes." She leaned back in her chair, watching him closely. "You got a plan?" "I will." Outside her office, Marcus saw Sarah by her locker, a new bandage wrapped around her elbow. He approached slowly. "Hey." She glanced up. "Hi. I'm going to fix this." She looked at him like she didn't believe it. Not yet, but she didn't say no. Team day at Roosevelt Middle wasn't supposed to matter. It was just one of those school-sponsored events meant to build unity and burn off restless energy. But this year, it was going to be different. Marcus made sure of that. From the moment he saw Sarah on the ground, something in him had shifted. Like a door cracked open, he could never close again. The day arrived warm and sticky. Students poured into the gym wearing color-coded shirts, buzzing about dodgeball, relays, and popsicles. Teachers pretended to care. Parents peeked through side doors. No one expected anything more than tired legs and loud whistles. Marcus stood near the bleachers, hands stuffed into his hoodie pockets, eyes scanning for Camden. He spotted him across the court, leaning against the wall, flanked by Hunter and Leo, his usual entourage. Camden looked bored, cocky, invincible. That would change. Ms. Green walked over, clipboard in hand. "Teams are set. You got what you asked for." Marcus nodded. "Thanks." Team 5. Marcus, Sarah, Camden, Hunter, Leo, and a girl named Emily, who rarely spoke but ran track like the wind. When Camden saw Marcus, his lip curled. "Really? You again?" "Team day," Marcus said flatly. "Try not to trip on your ego." Camden smirked. "This isn't going to end the way you think, hero boy." Sarah rolled in beside Marcus, wearing a navy shirt and faded jeans, her expression unreadable. He looked down at her bandaged elbow and then back at Camden. This was about more than a race. It was about the way things worked and how they'd stop working today. The first few games were routine, a three-legged race, balloon toss, beanbag relay. Camden joked through most of them, high-fiving Hunter and letting Marcus do the grunt work. But Marcus didn't care. Not yet. He was waiting for the last event, the obstacle relay. Principal Harlan stepped onto the mic. "Final event, obstacle relay. Each team must navigate tires, cones, and balance beams. Last leg, wheelchair push with baton handoff. Winner gets a pizza party with the mayor. Losers clean the cafeteria all week." The gym roared. Camden laughed. "That's your grand plan? Push her around like a dolly?" "No," Marcus said, dead calm. "You are." Camden blinked. "What?" Marcus turned to the teacher in charge. "Our rider is Sarah. Pusher is Camden. Fair rotation." Ms. Green nodded from the sidelines. "Confirmed." Camden looked around like someone would save him. No one did. The race began. Leo sprinted the first leg. Then Emily, graceful and swift. Hunter stumbled through cones, nearly knocking one over. They were ahead, barely. Marcus handed the baton to Camden. "She's ready." Sarah rolled to the mark, hands steady, jaw clenched. Camden grabbed the handles with obvious reluctance. "You better not fall." "I've already done that," she replied. The whistle blew. Camden pushed fast, too fast. The wheelchair wobbled. Sarah yelled, "Slow down!" "Stay left. There's a bump." He adjusted, gritting his teeth. The tires bumped over rubber mats. The crowd quieted. Halfway through, sweat beaded on Camden's forehead. His muscles flexed, legs burning. The silence was louder than any insult he'd ever thrown. Final stretch. Sarah raised the baton. Marcus and Emily shouted, "Go! Go!" They crossed the finish line. First place. Camden bent over, gasping. Sarah sat tall, holding the baton like a torch. And for the first time, no one clapped. They watched. Because it wasn't about winning. It was about seeing. The applause didn't come immediately. Instead, there was a stillness. A rare, loaded silence in a middle school gym, where noise was constant and attention was fleeting. Camden stood behind the wheelchair, breathing hard, hands still gripping the handles. Sarah didn't move. She stared ahead, baton upright, her face calm but unreadable. Marcus stepped forward. "You okay?" he asked, voice low. Sarah nodded once. "I'm okay. Are you?" Camden finally let go of the chair and stepped back. His chest rose and fell, his eyes darting to the bleachers. No one was laughing. A few kids exchanged glances. A teacher took out her phone, but not to film, just to make a note. It was that kind of moment. Ms. Green approached, her smile faint but real. That was a powerful finish. Camden scoffed, wiping his forehead. "Whatever." He turned to leave, but Sarah's voice stopped him. "Camden." He paused, eyes narrowing. "Thanks for not dropping me." It wasn't a jab, not sarcasm, just words. Camden looked like he didn't know what to do with them. "Yeah, sure." Then he walked off without another word. That night, the school's online forum buzzed. Someone had uploaded a picture of Sarah crossing the finish line, baton raised. The caption read, "Strength looks like this." It got shared faster than anyone expected. Comments poured in, not just students, but parents. Even some teachers joined. At home, Marcus scrolled through the thread while eating dinner. His mom looked over the top of her glasses. "That her?" He nodded. "She's strong. She shouldn't have had to prove it like that." "No," his mom said softly. "But now they've seen her. Really seen her." The next morning, the atmosphere in the hallways was strange. Not tense, not celebratory, just different. Camden walked with his usual swagger, but the eyes that followed him were different now. No awe, no fear, just recognition. Marcus noticed it too, how the same kids who once laughed at Camden's jokes now hesitated. How Sarah's presence, once overlooked, drew quiet nods. Not pity, respect. In third period, Principal Harlan made an announcement over the PA. "Tomorrow, we will hold a short assembly after lunch. 2 students have requested to speak about what happened during team day." Camden was in the same classroom as Marcus when the announcement came. He didn't look up, but his jaw tensed. After class, Camden caught up to Marcus by the lockers. Marcus shut his locker gently. Number Sarah did. Camden hesitated. "She's going to roast me in front of everyone?" Marcus looked him in the eye. "She's not like you." That night, Sarah wrote her speech in the quiet of her room. Her mother peeked in once, saw the notebook on her lap, and just smiled without saying a word. Downstairs, the TV played reruns of courtroom dramas, stories where the bad guys always got what they deserved. But Sarah wasn't interested in punishment. She was interested in truth. Marcus worked on his own thoughts. He didn't plan to speak, but he needed to be ready, just in case. And somewhere in a house a few blocks away, Camden stared at his ceiling. The silence that used to feel like power now sat heavy on his chest. For the first time in his life, he wondered what it meant to be seen, not as a leader, but as a lesson. The gym smelled like waxed floors and warm plastic chairs. It always did. But that morning, something else hung in the air: anticipation. Rows of students filed in, some laughing, some whispering, but most just watching the stage. The usual setup was there: a microphone on a metal stand, the principal's folding podium, and a long blue Roosevelt middle banner stretched behind. Principal Harlan stepped up first, clearing his throat. "Before we begin our regular announcements, 2 students have asked to say a few words about what happened at Team Day. Please give your full attention to Sarah Ruiz and Marcus Clay. There was a ripple through the crowd. Quiet curiosity, a few raised eyebrows, even a smirk from Camden near the back row. Sarah rolled forward first. She wore a clean navy blouse, her hair in a neat braid down one side. She positioned herself beside the mic, adjusted the angle slightly, then looked up. Her voice, when it came, was calm and steady. Most of you saw what happened 2 days ago. You saw a race, a wheelchair, maybe even a win. But that's not why I'm here. The gym quieted. Even the teachers leaned in. I've spent my whole life being told I'm different, slower, weaker, invisible. That day, when I was pushed to the ground, I didn't cry, not because I'm brave, but because I'm used to it. Used to people not seeing me, used to being the one who gets laughed at. She paused, letting her words settle. But what I want you to know is this. I am not weak. I am not a punchline. And neither is anyone else who's been pushed down just because they move differently. She turned to Marcus, who stepped beside her. He didn't grab the mic. He just spoke. When I saw her fall, I froze. Not because I didn't care, but because I remembered my dad. He looked around. He stood up for someone once and got jumped outside a diner. The cops never showed. No one helped. So I learned to stay quiet, to keep my head down. But staying quiet doesn't make you safe. It just makes the wrong people louder. There was a beat of silence. Then Principal Harlan returned to the mic. Thank you, both of you, for your courage. Let this be a moment we remember. The gym erupted into applause, not thunderous, but sincere. Camden didn't clap. Not at first. He looked around. Hunter was avoiding his eyes. Even Leo gave a slow, uncertain nod toward the stage. Later, outside the gym, Marcus leaned against the brick wall, staring out at the field. Camden approached slowly. I didn't mean for it to go that far, he said. Marcus didn't respond. Camden sighed. I was just messing around. I didn't think... That's the problem, Marcus cut in. You didn't think. You didn't have to. Camden looked down. She's right, you know. She's not weak. She's stronger than me. Marcus folded his arms. Then act like it. Camden nodded slowly. Can I help fix her wheelchair? I mean, I'm good with tools. Marcus stared at him a moment, then shrugged. Ask her, not me. Inside, Sarah sat at a lunch table, alone, peeling the label off her water bottle. Camden approached cautiously. Hey, he said. She looked up. I'm sorry. For real. I was a jerk. Worse than that. Sarah tilted her head. I forgive you. Camden exhaled. But I don't need you to be sorry, she added. I need you to be better. He nodded. Yeah, I'm working on that. And for the first time since team day, she smiled. Just a little. Just enough. The gym filled faster than usual, the kind of buzz that preceded something real. Not a fire drill, not a pep rally. Something heavier. Students filed in, half expecting a speech, half hoping for drama. Teachers lined the walls with clipboards and caution. At the front, the mic waited, silent, cold, tall. Principal Harlan, usually dry as toast, looked almost emotional as he stepped forward. Good morning, students. Today's assembly will begin differently. 2 of your peers asked to speak, not for attention, but for truth. Please welcome Sarah Ruiz and Marcus Clay. Murmurs moved through the crowd like wind through grass. Sarah rolled out first, her wheels humming softly on the polished floor. She wore a Roosevelt sweatshirt, a size too big, and a look of quiet fire in her eyes. She spoke without hesitation. Most of you saw what happened. A girl in a wheelchair got shoved. A crowd laughed. And then, nothing. No one helped. Not right away. Her eyes swept the bleachers. This isn't about pity. I don't want that. I want you to understand what it feels like to fall and realize no one's reaching down. That hurts more than the ground. She paused. Let it breathe. I've lived with wheels my whole life, but I've never been stuck until that moment. Because I wasn't stuck by the floor. I was stuck by your silence. Gasps. Stillness. Even the teachers weren't writing anymore. Marcus stepped up beside her. He didn't use the mic. His voice didn't need it. My dad told me something once. Said there's two kinds of silence. The kind that listens, and the kind that lets bad things happen. I've done both. When Sarah hit the pavement, I froze. I thought being quiet was safe. But safety isn't always right. And silence, it's never neutral. He looked at Camden. Didn't point, didn't accuse, just looked. I'm not brave. I'm just tired of pretending I don't care. Sarah added softly. We don't need heroes. We need honesty. The gym didn't cheer, not right away. But slowly, hands met hands. A wave of applause rose. Not loud, not forced, just true. Camden sat with his shoulders hunched, jaw tight. Hunter tapped his foot. Leo stared at the floor. For once, their silence meant something different. Maybe reflection. Afterward, in the hallway, Ms. Green stopped Marcus. You didn't have to say yes to that mic. Marcus shrugged. I didn't. I had to say no to being quiet. Down the corridor, Camden stood alone near a vending machine. Sarah wheeled up to him. No crowd, no cameras, just two people. He scratched the back of his neck. I didn't mean to. I know. I know that too. I'm not asking you to forgive me, he said, eyes cast down. I already did, Sarah replied. But forgiveness isn't the end. It's the start. He nodded slowly. So what do I do now? She smiled faintly. You show up, and next time someone's on the ground, you don't look around. You reach. It wasn't a deal. It wasn't a speech. It was a seed. And Camden, for the first time in a long time, felt something take root. The next week at Roosevelt Middle was quiet in a way that wasn't uncomfortable. It was intentional. Something had shifted, not in the rules or the schedule, but in the air, in the looks exchanged in hallways, in the way doors opened just a little more quickly for Sarah, or how teachers started pausing longer when students raised their hands. It wasn't dramatic, but it was real. Marcus noticed it first during lunch. Sarah wasn't sitting alone anymore. Emily from Team Day joined her, then another student, David, a quiet kid who always read science fiction novels. By Thursday, they had their own table. No signs, no claims, just respect. Principal Harlan called a faculty meeting and proposed a new student initiative, Student Voice, a weekly circle for students to talk openly about inclusion, respect, and what change could look like. He asked Marcus and Sarah to lead the first session. Marcus nearly said no. Not because he didn't care, but because speaking up still made his stomach twist. But Sarah said yes before he could decide. If we don't start it, she told him, who will? So on Friday afternoon, room 214 became more than a classroom. Chairs were pulled into a circle. No desk, no microphone, just space. Camden showed up, too. He sat off to the side, hoodie up, head down. He didn't talk, but he listened. That mattered. Ms. Green handed out notebooks titled Voices Unmuted. On the first page, Marcus wrote, Silence used to be my safest place. Now it feels like a cage. Sarah shared a poem she'd written about falling. How gravity wasn't just physics, but social. How being lifted wasn't always about hands, but hearts. That weekend, Marcus walked past the library bulletin board and saw a new flyer, Roosevelt Respect Week, student-led. Topics included empathy, accessibility, and allyship. His name was listed under speakers. He hadn't known, but he didn't tear it down. On Monday, Camden found Marcus by the bike racks. "Hey," he said. Marcus didn't look up. "Yeah? You were right. I didn't think. I just reacted. But I've been thinking a lot lately." Marcus turned. "And? I want to help, not just apologize. Actually help. You said Student Voice is open to anyone, right?" Marcus nodded. "You show up, you listen, you speak when it's real. That's the deal." Camden took a breath. "I can do that." Later that day, Sarah's wheelchair squeaked slightly as she rolled into the art room. She handed Ms. Tran, the art teacher, a sketch she'd worked on all weekend. It was a mural proposal, a boy standing, a girl seated, both facing forward. Behind them, a quote in block letters, "Respect isn't earned by silence." Ms. Tran read it, smiled, and said, "Let's make it happen." By Friday, the mural was halfway finished. Paint dripped along the edges, but the eyes of the two figures were already alive, steady, unblinking, as if daring someone to forget. And no one did. Not that week, not after. Because even in a small school tucked in Georgia's trees, when students stopped waiting and started speaking, even the walls began to listen. Spring crept into Georgia quietly, slipping into the corners of classrooms and across the field where the mural now stood in full color. The boy and girl, standing and seated, had become more than symbols. They were stories, reminders, warnings. Students paused beneath the painting between classes. Some pointed, some smiled, some just stood still, as if remembering what silence used to cost. Sarah rolled by it every morning now, not with pride or arrogance, but with ownership. Her seat, once a magnet for pity or jokes, had become a place of purpose. She joined the poetry club, shared her first piece at the spring showcase. When her name was called, there was no gasp, no hesitation, just applause before she even reached the mic. Her words weren't loud, but they traveled. Marcus, meanwhile, found himself leading the third student voice session. He hadn't meant to, but when Ms. Green asked, no one else raised a hand. So he did. The room was fuller this time. More desks pushed aside. Even a couple teachers sat in. He read from his notebook. Justice doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, and you only hear it if you stop talking long enough to listen. The room didn't erupt. It nodded. Camden, sitting in the back, tapped his pencil once, then twice, his version of clapping. At home, Marcus's mom caught him rewatching a video of Sarah's showcase reading. "That girl's got fire," she said. "She's the reason I speak now," Marcus replied. "And you're the reason she's not alone," his mom added. May brought testing, yearbook photos, and countdowns to summer. But it also brought invitations. Sarah received a letter from the State Board of Education. She'd been nominated to speak at the Youth Voices Forum in Atlanta. She asked Marcus to come with her. "You don't need me on that stage," he said. "No," she replied. "I need you next to it." On the day of the forum, Sarah wore a blazer 2 sizes too big and a Roosevelt pin on her collar. Her speech began with a story. Not about wheels or wounds, but about seeing someone fall and choosing to rise. She didn't name names, didn't talk about Camden, or even herself. She talked about what it meant to live in a world where kindness had to be taught, and how sometimes the greatest strength came from standing quietly next to someone others had pushed aside. After the speech, a girl with bright red glasses and braces ran up to her crying. "Thank you," she whispered. "Now I know I can speak too." Summer arrived in a rush of heat and closing doors. On the last day, Principal Harlan walked with Marcus across the now empty gym. "You think the school's different?" he asked. Marcus thought for a moment. "No." Harlan raised an eyebrow. Marcus smiled. "But the people are, and that's what makes schools different." That afternoon, Sarah rolled into the cafeteria one last time before break. At her usual table sat a small sign, handwritten, taped to the chair, "Reserved for those who rise." She didn't need to sit there to feel it, because this story wasn't just hers or Marcus's. It was Camden's now. It was everyone's. It was Roosevelt's. And it would echo in every voice that chose to speak when silence used to win.